Alrighty, hello, everybody, every person and human being out there. How are you feeling right now? What are you eating? I am drinking some Trailhead coffee. I had some pesto bread. It was really nice. And then just a lot of cathartic release, I think, as everyone has had this morning. So. For those of you who are tuning in, thank you so much for being here, and welcome to CupOJoe Season 2. As always, share this live stream. You can, just in the bottom right corner, there's a little button. You can press it and click share, and you can share the joy, because we got a lot of joy coming your way today. Our theme is crossing over, which I was like, okay, is this going to work? Like, are we going to get results, or are we not? You know, what's going to happen? And we have results. Joe Biden will be the next president of the United States. And there's a lot to unpack there, which we will over the course of the episode. But the first thing is that we're crossing over. We're crossing over into hopefully a new era. There's a lot of work to do, but today we can celebrate. We can celebrate. Today, as our guest, we have Sophie Lippert, who is a concert pianist, teacher, founder of Connections Concerts. Let's go over to Sophie real quick and say hello. Hi, Sophie.
Hey, great to see you.
Good to see you too. How are you feeling?
Really good, thanks.
Yes, we're coming back to Sophie in a second. Yes, Betsy, CupOJoe means even more today. Indeed, it does. There's a lot of meaning to be shared. But before we share meaning, yeah, if you want to share how you're feeling right now, what you ate for breakfast, and where you're coming from, as always, feel free to do so in the comments, and I can give you a little shout out. Okay, boom, doop, choo. As you guys know, this is also happening on YouTube simultaneously. So if you have people who are not on Facebook, you can let them know as well. Support this program. That's how we make this thing continue. Venmo at Joe Kai or PayPal Joe at joekai.com. Let's keep the party going. All right, we're starting off with Daughter. All right, this song needs no explanation. drawers filled with spam and ketchup to the neighbor. Little he knows about the world he left behind. Receiver, hang up the phone if someone calls and you don't recognize her lullaby. Is caught up in the memory of the past goodbye, and spilling your guts to no one on the floor except your mother. Filling your lungs with all the gases of your noble father. Taking him back cause it was never yours to start it over, to your grandma's house she loved but never knew she had a daughter. If I could be better and cooler and taller, I'd make it up to you. If only you could have seen under my letter, I would sit next to you. I stayed in tune until the teacher told me I don't have it. I gave it to the student, she forgot her dinner blessing. Sit for the lesson, I can promise if you're patriotic, please don't leave this country that became a prison and a habit. I play for you but mostly me, I need an answer. How can you root a tree that never had a chance to water? So let me drink to glory days locked in the distant future. Yes, it's getting cold, the crowds are hungry and it's getting darker. If I could be better and cooler and taller, I'd make it up to you. If only you could have seen under my letter, I'd make it up to you. If only you could have seen under my letter, I'd make it up to you. If only you could have seen under my letter, I'd make it up to you. If only you could have seen under my letter, I'd make it up to you. If only you could have seen under my letter, I'd make it up to you. If only you could have seen under my letter, I'd make it up to you. If only you could have seen under my letter, I'd make it up to you. If only you could have seen under my letter, I'd make it up to you. If only you could have seen under my letter, I'd make it up to you. If only you could have seen under my letter, I'd make it up to you. Hits every time. Hits every time. Kevin, good morning. Kevin's from Sacramento. How's it going? My cup of Joe is actually a big cup of Earl Grey tea with my Cheerios and blueberries. Got to get that antioxidant along with your genteel caffeine fix. Okay, so story time, a little story time. It's been a hell of a past 4 days. I think we've all just kind of been on pins and needles. I think everyone's operating at 20% efficiency. A lot of phone usage and browser refreshing, I think, and like headphones on, and our minds are being pulled in every single direction. It was a weird time, I think, because we didn't have control. We didn't feel like we had any control over the issue. Obviously, we had voted, and for those of you who didn't, actually everyone who's watching this, come on, y'all voted, of course. It reminded me of childhood, and my dad, who came here to get his PhD. And so we were in Seattle at the University of Washington, and he, after 12, 13 years of working to get his PhD here in this country as an immigrant, was in this building at the University of Washington defending his PhD. So basically means like, here's what I'm going to do or here's my thesis. And then a lot of people are like, what about this? What about this? And they just kind of try to poke holes in your argument. A really big deal if you're an academic. And, my mom, who, didn't have any power. And of course, me and my sister and I, who also did not have any real control over the issue, we resorted to prayer, and I think that's where people often draw strength from when they don't feel like they actually have control. And so my mom, my sister, and I, we walked around the building, I think like 7 times, because it was a biblical number for my mom, who is extremely religious, and we prayed. And so there's this moment that I very clearly remember where we're walking around this building lined with rhododendrons, because it's the Pacific Northwest, and just praying and watching my mother kind of weeping while she cries, and knowing that my dad was inside the building, possibly coming out and having good news for us, or terrible news for us as a lower income immigrant family of 4. He passed. It ended up being okay. But it was this week kind of reminded me of that, where we're all, I guess, this is kind of prayer. refresh. Buddha, God, whatever your chosen deity or deities are, it's like, refresh the world, refresh it. And here we are, on the cusp of, I think, a lot of work to be done and a lot of refreshing that needs to be done by all of us. Okay, here we go. Let's go to the next song. It's a song that I've been humming all week, so might as well. Hi, Bob. Yes to prayer, Betsy. Great to see you as well, Bob. Here we go. If you know it, sing along. Georgia, Georgia, the whole day through, just an old sweet song keeps Georgia on my mind. Georgia, Georgia, a song of you comes as sweet and clear as moonlight through the pines. Other arms reach out to me, other eyes smile tenderly. Still in peaceful dreams I see the road leads back to you. Georgia, Georgia, no peace I find, just an old sweet song keeps Georgia on my mind. Yeah, just an old sweet song keeps Georgia on my mind. Yeah. Georgia, Georgia, Georgia. And Pennsylvania and Arizona. Yeah. Howard Dean reference. Georgia, it's important. Let's keep it on our minds because there's about to be an important Senate runoff. If we can win those 2 Senate seats, then we will have control of the Senate. So everyone you know in Georgia, please make them vote. Unless they're not going to vote Democrat, then just tell them like, don't vote. No, that's not true. Voter suppression is dumb, and I think it says a lot about a political party when one of their primary strategies is to suppress voting. Yeah. So, hey, Pete Miller, what's up? Nice, Joe. Thanks, man. Thank you. Okay, Georgia's done, and we are going on. Please support this program. We have Venmo right here at Joe Kai, PayPal Joe at joekai.com. This helps me to keep CupOJoe going. It helps me with a lot of different things. Yeah, including keeping CupOJoe going. All right, so next up we have our special guest. I'm really excited about having this person on. This unnamed person, this is how we're doing it now, is a concert pianist based in Portland. She's a teacher and founder of Connections Concerts. I grew up playing music with this person. Yeah, so Sophie's amazing. Oh no, I gave it away. Please give it up for Sophie Lippert!
It's such a warm and enthusiastic welcome. I love it. I wish I could carry you around with me at all live shows.
Like, just take me out of your pocket, and it's like, yeah, no. Yeah. Or the guy that does like this thing at Conan's show, or any of those late night shows. Yeah. This one's a little more intimate. It's not as and in this corner. Yeah.
Yep. I would agree.
Because if there's one thing I would say is Sophie's a lover, not a fighter.
I would also agree. Well said.
Fisticuffs, rarely. I mean, there was that one time in middle school when you pinned me against the locker and just started beating me up, but...
Yeah, I gotta do what I gotta do sometimes.
It's true. It's called drawing boundaries and beating the shit out of people.
I've got plenty of fire if it needs to come out.
Yes. Speaking of fire, Sophie, we launched into our inside jokes. How do you identify, for all of our guests out there, how do you identify?
Well, I certainly identify as a musician and a music maker. But the ethos behind that is more the bigger umbrella is connector, I would say. Connector, enthusiast, sensualist. And I would say I really like the word actualizer. So to have an idea, distill it down, and figure out a way to bring it to life. So can I have 2 more? Listener and learner.
Yes, you can.
I could keep going with these words. This is
yeah, and wordsmith, I would say. I feel like you are kind of you are a wordsmith, writer, as well as just kind of speaker and storyteller and thought sharer. Yeah,
I appreciate that. That's definitely one of my preferred ways, both to process and express.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. And our second question that we ask every guest here, which is an early or your earliest childhood memory.
That's a great one also. So this would probably not be the very earliest, but it was a formative and it's musical. My dad, when I was 3 years old, he recorded a kids CD for kids and families, and I got to sing on it.
What?
As a 3-year-old. So I have a strong memory that comes, it's it's kind of dreamlike, but it's very distinct in that I remember wearing big headphones. I remember having to be really, really quiet
Mm.
and having to be like, whoa, I have to be even quieter than I ever do when people are sleeping or anything else. So it was like the kind of the intensity of the situation was clear to me. And then I got to sing the sweet solo line. And so I remember I remember the headphones. I remember the contrast between the really quiet and the big sound.
Mm.
And then I remember my dad like beaming at me when I got it right, kind of.
Nice. But not talk, but not the times when he's like frowning. That was
Right.
out of two. No, the opposite of that. I think that's what's so beautiful about children singing is, right? That they're kind of the the kind of the standard criteria of music making kind of fall by the wayside because of the fact that the spirit of the child is so clearly evident.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Really well said.
that's beautiful though. Oh man. Oh, now I'm excited to do that for my kids too. Let's do a recording.
I I have to say I've thought of you a couple times. I think they're gonna,
Mm,
yeah, they will be amazing little child. They will make appearances wherever they need to in your musical life, I'm
for
sure.
sure. And I also
So
don't want to force it on them either. I think
yeah,
it's important. Yeah, you have your space. If you want to do it, you can. If you don't, then that's totally fine. If you want
yeah.
to be an engineer, that's okay. Oh man.
That's orgasm if I ever
A
saw it.
sound engineer. Okay. Betsy says Sophie's amazing vocal recording at 3 years old. One of my faves. You have to find it.
I have it. It's very accessible. I know. I was gonna say if you've never heard it, I need to
Oh
share
my
it with
gosh!
you.
Please, 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 please. You should share that from your all your social media platforms because I think people would love that.
There you go.
Speaking of things that people will love, let's move on to our collaboration. We're gonna make some music together, which we've done, on multiple occasions in live performance. But in this case, it will not be. It'll be live, but we won't be in a room with you in our physical bodies. But what are we doing? What are we doing?
Great. So we're gonna do something that's fairly typical in theme
Mm,
to what I love the most, which is put two pieces next to each other that generally would not be
mm,
paired. Um, and so I feel like this is a perfect harbinger of things to come when we're talking about crossing over, right? We're going to cross over from 1720 to 2020.
Woo!
Do a selection, a short selection by Bach, and then kind of bridge mosey right into a piece that I composed myself just earlier this
Mm.
year. So right in the middle of pandemic time and confusion and uncertainty, and what came out, this piece, you'll hear it. It's kind of ebullient and just really it glows. And so for me, certainly in playing it, it feels hopeful and it always puts me in a good mood. So
Awesome. I'm super excited now. I'm gonna grab my
great.
other violin and there it is. All right, I'm ready.
Great, here we go.
Yeah. Oh, that was awesome.
Thanks, man. I just wish we could be in the same room. Holy smokes.
Yep.
I have to say, you just collaborating with you has been a high point of my life. How about that? How about that? So I wish we could, yeah, I'm looking forward to the time when we can do it again in closer connection.
It'll happen. It'll
Yep.
happen. But we have to hold on until then. That was beautiful. Where did that? So it was from the pandemic.
Yep.
And it seems so unpandemic like. You were like, oh, it's I wrote it during the pandemic, and I would assume that it would just be like.
I think, well, often I have to say, as with words, it's it's as if the words or the music that comes out is the music is what I need as a soothing balm, kind of.
Mm,
So it's somewhat it's certainly responsive to the
hmm.
time, but I think it's what my spirit needed to flow with, rather than kind of a reflecting exactly the experience that I was having.
Mm. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I think it's a balm for, right, for the kind of ness. Um,
Yes.
so yeah, thank you for that. So our theme is crossing over, and we talked a little bit briefly before the show about how that theme manifests. You know, there's crossing over, like crossing over to Jordan. There's so many words, yeah, so many ways that crossing over applies. I'm wondering kind of what that theme means for you.
Yeah, great. Well, the first thing I think of, because I'm always really sensitive to my
Mm.
surroundings. So right now we are in this time when we're kind of descending into the darkness,
Mm.
seasonally. And I have been thinking about how, as with a growth process, we have, germination comes actually before
Mm.
sprouting. A certain way, this actually feels to me like of the beginning of the year, or the beginning of a new
Mm.
stage, right? So as things tuck underneath the ground, though we can't see the growth that's happening, there's growth. I certainly know for myself too, personally, whenever I'm birthing something, it has to be pretty far underneath the
Mm.
surface for a while
Mm.
before it even begins to like poke its little buds out. So so that's maybe seasonally, I feel like we're crossing over into this new stage and this new space of the life cycle where
Mm.
there's death, and then out of that emerging just like the whispers of
Right.
birth. um, I think immediately too of musically, because I do feel like this is kind of the whole it's kind of the whole ethos behind what I do musically, and what my mission is as a
Mm.
musician and also actor, which is to bridge. Well, I hear crossing over and I hear bridge,
Mm.
right? So we're creating a bridge. You have to have somewhere to walk
Mm.
from when you're crossing. So we're maybe bridging or creating a connection between things that would not often be put together.
Mm.
And so, as a founder of a concert series where I put a whole bunch of different musicians from different genres on a stage together, and we share music and we trade off songs, and you get to hear so many different types of
Mm.
sounds um, paired that wouldn't generally be paired. And so I feel like there's a crossing in that, a crossing of genres, a crossing of maybe what boundaries might have been artificially placed on what we're supposed to be, or who I'm supposed to be as a classical
Mm.
musician. And that, that's certainly, I've carried that spirit through to this new CD that I just brought to
Time
the world, which is
travel.
travel, right? So we're traveling 300 years of time, with all sorts of different music showing up in between those 300 years. But again, as a classical musician, for me to put a piece that's written in 1970 right next to a piece that's written in the
Hmm.
1700s um, is unusual and unique. And I feel firmly that it's an important part of opening people to listen differently,
Hmm.
and to have a different level of uh, openness, awareness, and potentially, respect for, appreciation for things that wouldn't necessarily come into their sphere. So, and I certainly want to just name also this idea of crossing over
Sure, sure.
culturally, because it ties so much. I do feel like this time that we're in, it's polarity ain't gonna get us
Sure.
anywhere. I mean, and I think that what I've loved about my concert series,
Mm.
frankly, is it gives little, um, this little place to practice being in spaces that you're exposed to things that are
Mm.
uncomfortable, unusual. So someone might come to a show because they know me, my classical musician, but then they're going to hear this rad spoken word artists do something that they've never really heard
Sure.
before. And initially, there might be discomfort,
Hmm.
right? And there can be like when we're in a space and we can move beyond that to
Yeah.
openness. Doesn't I don't want everyone to be the same. I don't want all the musical sounds to be the same. I don't want everyone to have to believe the same things. But I do think we need to listen to each
Hmm.
other. So I see that as that's a crossing
Hmm.
over too,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? Like if we can listen to each other, if we can have respect for each other's opinions, even if we don't agree with
Sure.
them. And that's going to require getting outside of our
Hmm.
comfort zones,
Yeah.
right? That's going to require like walking along a bridge that's maybe a little bit precarious and we've never walked it
Hmm.
before. And that can be scary. And I think it's so important for the way
Hmm.
forward. So that was a lot of
No, no,
words,
no.
but
It's a lot to chew on for sure. Well, let's take it back. I kind of want to go back to what you're talking about musically, but then let's time travel. Let's go back in time, uh,
right?
and I'm kind of imagining. So I met you in middle school, I think, probably around then, and we were doing chamber music together. You were at that point. I was, oh, she's such a great cellist. What was that era, Sophie, thinking about as far as classical music? And I mean, you laid down your thesis just now about kind of your thoughts on music and the need for kind of breaking outside of traditional molds and reaching across these different boundaries. And I'm wondering what 12-year-old Sophie, 13-year-old Sophie might have thought at that time.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Here's what I know. I know that I knew I loved
Hmm.
music. I knew that music was a primary mode for me to e- express and emote and pour. I had an affinity for it. I had a love
Hmm.
for it. Um, so I knew there was a caliber of playing and a level of excellence that I was able to
Hmm.
achieve. And
Ooh.
well, in conjunction with really loving
Yeah.
it, that it felt kind of obvious that I would make music and that would be a part of my
Hmm.
life. I think, frankly, that I didn't, despite my dad being, a musician from a totally different genre than
Hmm.
classical. I don't think I was thinking much beyond the classical
Hmm.
bubble. I had a very traditional classical schooling in my musical training, and I was playing only exclusively classical music. Um, and so I was very much thinking that I love this. Uh, it's an important, it's an important part of my life. Um, but I don't think I had any conception that I could build a career around music like the one that I have,
Hmm.
like,
Yes.
um, so for me to not have to give up, be able to pour my passion for all these other things, for connection and the curiosity about, what it means to run a business, all these other things
Hmm.
that could kind of all be a part of be a part of the way that I musically emoted and
Yes.
expressed.
Because
Yeah.
I think, yeah, at that time for me too, it was, and that's one of the reasons why I didn't think of music as a career option is like go to Juilliard and be the next Sarah Chang except better, or like be the next Itzhak
Right.
Perlman but better. And there was also this idea that all you needed to do was be better than this other person at music, and really like at a certain point you can't really tell, right? I mean, like, what does that even mean? To be better than someone. It's like, oh, you hit more of the notes accurately more of the time. Um, I mean, I was at
Yes.
a Yo-Yo Ma concert, a few years ago, and I was like, oh, that was not in tune, but that's like such a subdued part of who I am, and also like nobody in the audience gave two two shoots, about two little bamboo shoots. They did not give two bamboo shoots, nor one, um, about this Miss Note because of of the beauty that he was creating with sound.
Yep. That's so powerful. I know, and thank goodness that you've learned that and that I've learned that and we've been able to, pull pull that spirit forward, because otherwise, yeah, there would be no way if I was still operating within a traditional classical
Hmm.
mindset. There's no way, I frankly, that I would feel brave enough to put myself out in the world, because I am not the most technically proficient player I know. There's no way. And yeah, right, that makes two of us. And it doesn't matter. It has says nothing about the effectivity of our playing.
Yes.
I would say, yeah, the time that it's most confusing to me to still navigate
Hmm.
that is when I am. So occasionally I'll be on a big stage with an
Hmm.
orchestra,
Hmm.
right? Playing a class. I just, was playing playing Rhapsody in Blue with the Olympia Symphony, and that I feel like when there's an orchestra of 80 people behind me and
Uh,
there's an audience, it's really hard. I know the expectation is for me to be a conventional classical player.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah.
As at a Connections concert show, and we're in, I feel like I can be so much more in the
Hmm.
moment, inspired by that's there, responding to. I can be such a more alive player, frankly.
Mm.
And it's hard to be that alive when I'm on stage with an orchestra, because it's a little risky to be that alive. Because if I get
It's
lost in
risky to be
the music,
alive.
well, would you
No,
agree?
totally. And so does Lynn. Lynn is also saying feeling the truth of this so much as a classical singer. Yeah, you feel like you're in an audition again. You go right back to 10th grade, auditioning, before your conductor, and it's like, yeah.
Right, right. I know. And just being there's, I can't be lost in a flow. Like the level of
Mm,
risk, if I'm in and we just kind of lose ourselves and we're so in sync and so in like dynamic playing that we kind of deviate from what's on the page, that's
mm,
fine.
mm,
There's no problem. But if I've got a conductor waving a
hmm,
baton and an
hmm.
orchestra behind me, like I can't drop in and release and relax in the same way. So I think that's just a part of, it's not necessarily a negative, it just
Yeah,
is. Um, and I'm not sure if I will have the opportunity in this lifetime to kind of work that out. I think that I will probably be on a lot more smaller stages than I will be on bigger
sure.
stages. God, when stages become possible
Well,
again.
yeah, you
um,
never know. Don't put that out there. Yeah, all the other jujus. But I think okay. So going back to what you're saying, I think that's also the mindset that we're talking about, the more oppressive one in which we're not able to be free. It's like an competitive athletic type of mindset. I feel where it's like it's all about production and accuracy. Um,
Great. Yep.
like which is not art. That's not what art is about. Um,
Yep.
and I wonder, kind of, in some of these circles, and also the classical circle that at least that I grew up in, whether that level of competitive accuracy and, dare I say, like capitalistic mindset of production and efficiency, like that has been enforced, in what should be a much more artistic world that is driven by human emotions than like 441.
Yeah.
No, how dare you play an AS
Right.
441? Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's really well said. I mean, and I think too, as you speak of that, I think of our whole education
Mm.
system. I,
Mm.
how much really do tests? I know it just drives me bananas when I see, like do test scores, like, does this really matter, or does someone need to learn how to be like a living, breathing, feeling like joyful, a human that knows how to navigate their emotions and knows how to navigate interpersonal
Mm.
relationships and knows how to recover from, knows how to be resilient, like all these
Mm.
things that, yeah. And so how much there are these kind of boxes that were these boxes, capitalistic, perfectionistic boxes that we're asked to be, and it's hard. It's hard.
Yeah, especially
Um,
when the people that hold a lot of resources and power are in the arts world are the very ones who are enforcing those boxes. Yeah.
Yep.
Lynn's all about this. Lynn's like, and there was a joy for the music making that has kept us in the practice room. That joy and love needs to be expressed. Right. So we're
Beautiful.
playing, yeah, when you're practicing by yourself, it's a totally different um, world. I mean, yeah, even when I was just playing classical music, I remember sitting there with a Bach sonata and just falling in love with, two measures and playing it over and over again. Um,
Yeah.
and dumping into those two measures all of the experience that I was going through in that particular moment. Oh, this crush I had, or
Yeah.
or like, oh, how are we gonna pay our rent? Like all of those I could dump into that moment, and that's what I'm
Yeah.
thinking about, as opposed to when I'm sitting in an audition, I'm like, oh, like, am I showing great bow control, and am I using the whole bow, and like, oh no, that chord was like just a hair not in tune. Ah! Yeah.
Right.
Um, we
Yeah.
could go on, but let's go to time travel. You just put out a new album, which I absolutely love. Not only for the wonderful music and the different diversity of pieces that you're putting in there, but also you're talking about and introducing each of these pieces, which I had never seen before on a classical music album. So can you talk about that?
Yeah, would love to. Well, thanks for your kind words. I have to say, it's funny putting, I don't know if you had this experience with your album, but there's so much work, energy, time, like spirit, soul poured into this, and then it's out, and then for me, especially right now, yes, it's out, and then it's like so anticlimactic. Like, where'd you go? And I know it's on
Hmm.
Spotify and it's on Apple, and like I know some people are listening to it, but I just get this number back, and it's
Mm.
all of this work that I've done. So I really thank you for just sharing your experience of it, because it makes it feel more real. Like it's really something that I've put all this work into, and then it's being
Mm.
received. It's like there's some energetic flow and something meeting me there. So um, the album was a real treat for me to make. It was the culmination of I pulled some of my favorite classical and more modern repertoire from just basically a full 30 years of making
Mm.
music. Um, and the addition of spoken introductions was really edgy.
Mhm.
I just got this at one I once the idea manifested again, it goes back to that actualizer. It was like, I think I have to bring this to life,
Mm.
but I've never seen this done
Yeah.
before, and I have no idea how it'll go over. And um, but it just felt. I mean, it's a really good expression of who I am as a musician, and I also think it creates really great context and connectivity and intimacy in a way that is so hard to
Mm.
get on a classical
Mm.
album. Um, and I feel like, in particular, because of what we've talked about, trying to be so darn perfect with the playing
Which it is,
means
but
that,
that's besides the point.
huh, well, feel a little sterile. Like other genres,
Mm.
when a CD that was recorded with a bunch of musicians in a room that were, again, in kind of dynamic expression with each
Mm.
other. And there might be a little bit of error, but again, there can feel like there's this breath of life in it.
Mm.
Um, I just feel like a classical album, despite the
Mm.
music being stunningly beautiful or such like a great replication of the notes on the
Mm.
page and very expressive, it can still be pretty
Yeah.
sterile. And so for me, this was a way to the words, my sharing my words, sharing a little bit about the pieces, um, about my relationship to them, and then giving like just a little bit of kind of invitations for how to listen to
Yeah.
it. Felt like there was a way that I could again, it could just breathe some vitality into
It
the
was,
project.
I feel like it's really on the cutting edge, and hopefully, like the future, we're crossing over into the future of a
Uh,
lot of albums, because to me, it was like listening to a podcast plus like an awesome music album, like enmeshed in one.
but great,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, so yeah, everyone out there should check it out. Time Travel. It's on Spotify. It's on Apple Music. All of the different musical platforms. Um, yeah.
And if you want copy, you can buy one through my website. It's beautifully designed, and you know, it's worth investing in if you even have a CD player anywhere in close vicinity.
What's your website?
SophieLippert.com.
SophieLippert.com. Bam. Awesome.
And you can find it on the Connections Concerts website, though we're on temporary hiatus with that project just because tis the age, tis the season to be on hiatus with live shows.
Yep. Yeah. So I guess here's to leaning into unsterility, a little bit of dirt. Let's get some dirt on our hands.
Yeah.
Avoid technical flawness and, get things messy. Not only musically, but I think, socially and culturally as well. How do we move forward and kind of lean into some of those ickies?
Yeah. And especially, I mean, as when done with the spirit of respect, compassion, love, we can't go wrong, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So it might be messy. It can be as messy as it needs to be. But if the impulse and the impetus behind that is one of love, curiosity, then yeah.
On that note, Sophie, thank you so much for stopping by CupOJoe. And yeah, hopefully we can do a live concert in the next year or two.
I love that. I know.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, it's really, really fun to be here with you. I know it's not the same, but I do feel like there's a way that there's still synergy and there's still energy exchange, and it's a real treat. So I just wish I could be, totally. I'm looking forward to giving you a big hug when that's possible.
So many hugs to come.
I know. All right. Real joy to be here. Thank you so much.
Virtual hug. Thank you so much, Sophie.
Yeah, take good care.
And bye-bye. Please check out Sophie's music. So much good stuff coming out of there. Connections concert as well. Connections concert series that we talked about. Lynn, yes, make it reflect realness. Yes, realness. All of the realness. All right, we have a little short ditty for Jerry, who filled out the CupOJoe feedback form. Jerry, 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 Jerry. Awesome. Thank you so much, Jerry, for filling out the form. Buy local. As always, every CupOJoe episode, I highlight a local company. And this week, I have been consuming a lot of Bull Run Distillery's single malt. So yeah. Yeah, it's been that type of week. 2 weeks, we have another episode coming for you on November 21st. That'll be with Hussein Al-Bayati, who is the owner of Refugees, storyteller, graphic artist who came here as a refugee and has created this amazing clothing apparel line that really kind of hones in on a lot of the things that I believe about immigration, about all of those things. So it's gonna be a great episode. Put that on your calendar, November 21st. Thank you, of course, to all CupOJoe supporting partners, including Bravo Youth Orchestra. They're doing amazing work here in Portland. So please, if you don't know about it, check it out at OregonBravo.org. All right, here we go. We're going to close it out with a little improv upbeat session, of course, to celebrate the times. And we're starting with percussion. Thank you so much, Sophie, for hopping on, and for all of you for stopping in. Here we go. Thank you everybody for tuning in. Go celebrate and do the work. Make sure to tell all your friends to vote in Georgia's Senate race. Yeah, 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 yeah. How can he make it? You just gotta make it, Bazzi. You gotta make it. Make whatever you hear come to life.